So as companies grow and leave requests rise, HR's job doesn't just get busier, it gets more complicated. Today we're exploring how to keep leave personal, even when the volume is high, because the last thing anyone wants is for a stressful life event to turn into a cold, confusing process. Here to share some insight on that is Brad Hyland, our go-to expert and Tilt's Director of Leave and Customer Success. So Brad, as companies grow and leave requests pile up, what do you see as the biggest challenges for keeping that personal touch with employees?
I think time, to be honest. A lot of it is tied into the amount of time that that person has. Leave of absence for an HR team member is typically split between many different aspects. Benefits work and leave of absence is only a small portion of what that time should be spent on, unless that person is hired directly in to manage only leaves of absence. And even in that case, depending on the volume of leaves, it can really be a huge lift for that person to stay on top of all the different leave laws that are out there, and also just generally stay on top of all of the different changes that are happening with a leave of absence. So, across the US, there's hundreds of different leave laws that could come into play. The main ones obviously are tied into things like FMLA, but then any sort of state-specific benefits that that employee may be eligible for from a payment standpoint, or potentially job protections too. But there are a lot of different aspects that could come into play, whether that's shifting dates, whether that's tenure that that employee has with the company, things like that. All of those come into play. And as a result, it ties back to the timepiece. It takes, again, like around 20 hours on average for that person to be able to manage a leave of absence directly, based off of all of the different research that they need to be doing depending on the different states that employees are in and things like that. And as a result, as you have more and more leaves piling up in your queue, or being able to manage those as an individual can become a daunting process. And so you end up going as quickly as you can through a lot of those different items. You maybe have template emails and things like that that you're sending out that maybe cover some different items. And then as a result, it doesn't seem very personal for those team members that are taking that time out of the office. So, with the Tilt system, we have a team of individuals here that are dedicated to manage leaves of absence and making sure that we have a consistent feel with employees and making sure that they have the information that they need when they're taking that time out of the office. We offer a lot of different options for that process, whether it's either over email or text, or if that employee needs to have a call directly with us, we can set that up as well. So we really work hard here at to make sure that we're providing a personal touch to every leave of absence and ensuring that those individuals are not feeling left in the dark associated with their process. Sure, we do have a system that helps to support those leaves of absence. And that's one of the reasons why we're able to manage so many leaves for so many different companies and allow our leave success managers to thrive in that space. But generally speaking, as an individual, you may not have the tools, or you may not have the systems in place to be able to help support that without a leave of absence vendor in this space.
What kind of negative impacts have you heard about from customers or people in the business that have come from someone who maybe just doesn't have a solution at all, or has chosen to adopt one of the solutions that we know of that are really just all automated and there's no human touch aspect to it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest piece to that is the questions might not be effectively answered. So leave is very nuanced. Everybody's leave is a little bit different. You could have two individuals that are both taking a parental leave of absence in the same state. They live next door to each other, but their experience is going to be very different of taking that leave of absence. One of them might, if it's a birthing parent, one might have a C-section, one might have a natural birth. That results in different timeframes for those individuals to be out of the office as a potential instance. Now, because of that, it is really important that those individuals continue to have that personal touch, because without that, you kind of lose the ability for that individual to potentially truly understand what they're eligible for and how they're going to take that time out of the office. It also provides that individual just someone else to talk to be transparent. Here at Tilt, at least, we have a dedicated team that's really there to support those individuals. We call them our empathy warriors, because it's for a reason. They're there to help support those individuals and make sure that they're answers or their questions are being answered, but also that we're providing like a really, really great experience to those employees taking that time out of the office.
So in your position, you've had personal contact with countless HR leaders, companies of all sizes, trying to manage a variety of different volumes of leave. Can you share an example of a company that, obviously they're already using Tilt, but a company that really gets it when it comes to like making leave feel personal and straightforward, and what is their approach to leave that might be different from others? So if, you're watching this, you might try to like see where you fall in that mix of that personal touch.
Yeah. I think while this might seem a little bit counterintuitive, I think actually having strict policies is important in that space. So having those well defined and making sure that you're holding people accountable to those different policies is really, really important. And I think the main reason why I'm saying that is not necessarily that it is a space where you then punish individuals for asking for additional time or anything like that. It's more because you don't want to end up in a place where one person has been able to take more time out of the office than another who is taking the same leave type. Sure, different circumstances come up. Maybe medical leave of absence, something like that is different than someone else's. But generally speaking, the amount of pay that the company is providing or the number of general weeks that the team is providing from a company policy, as long as you are adhering to those, it can help to actually make a better employee experience because one person is not favored over another. And so that would be my biggest thing, is making sure that you have clear, concise policies that are written in a way that both allows for the legal jargon, but also allows for employees to truly understand what they're eligible for and why. And then making sure that you're adhering to it is the next step in that process. So yeah, you don't want to provide one person more time out of the office than another as much as you can.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, how are you ever supposed to know if there's a need for additional policy or changes to your policy if they're not enacted fairly across the board? I think that's a good thing to bring up. Mm-hmm. In a situation where maybe there's someone who, an HR leader who is not quite at the point where they're ready to adopt a software solution, mm-hmm. Do you have any tips or thoughts that you would share with them in ways that they can help keep the human touch or keep that empathetic side of things when trying to manage leave, especially in an instance where maybe their team is growing or leave requests are on the rise?
Yeah. I mean, I think don't be scared to ask for help. You might be only one person. Leaves take time, and there's a lot of research that goes into them. Ask for help across your team. I think that's an important piece. Make sure that you have, if let's say you are using a spreadsheet or something like that, make sure that it's consistent. And make sure that you're not necessarily following different processes for different people. Even if it is the CEO or something like that that's taking leave, your policies may still come into play at that point in time. And so it's important to make sure that you're following those. And yeah, I think the other piece too is make sure that anybody else that's interacting with those employees is just aware of what they may or may not, what an employee may or may not see as being an issue from a question standpoint. There are some different laws that are out there around what managers can be asking for, and having good education for those team members is really, really important. If there's a question that has to be asked or something like that, it's probably better coming from HR or for your manager to ask you if it's okay for you to be, or for them to be asking that question. So that would be my recommendations in that space.